Are you tired of hovering around 1100 to 1200 ELO, unable to break through to the next level? The problem isn't your knowledge, it's your approach. Today I'm going to share battle-tested strategies specifically designed to exploit the most common weaknesses of 1000 ELO players. These aren't just theoretical concepts, they're practical weapons that will immediately boost your win rate. Ready to start climbing the rating ladder? Let's dive in. The psychology of 1000 ELO players. Before we get into specific tactics, let's understand the 1000 ELO mindset. These players typically know basic principles but struggle with consistent execution. They recognize threats but often miss the deeper implications. They can calculate short sequences but falter when positions get complex. And most importantly, they have predictable patterns we can exploit. Remember, at this level, chess isn't just about the best move. It's about playing moves your opponent can't handle. Let's look at how to do exactly that. Weapon number 1, the delayed center strike. Our first weapon targets a critical weakness of 1000 ELO players: premature development without securing the center. Let's say your opponent plays the Italian game. Instead of immediately challenging the center, let them complete their development while you quietly prepare a delayed center strike with d5. When you finally push that pawn, they're often caught with poorly coordinated pieces that can't effectively respond to the sudden change in pawn structure. Here's the key. When they develop their pieces to standard squares without considering your specific threats, you can suddenly change the nature of the position. When you push d5, it typically leads to one of two scenarios. Either they make a tactical error trying to maintain their center, or they retreat awkwardly, giving you the initiative. Even if they respond correctly, the sudden shift forces them to think in a new position, exactly what 1000 ELO players struggle with. This approach works in countless openings, from the Ruy Lopez to the Queen's Gambit. Weapon number 2, the exchange sacrifice. Our second weapon is the strategic exchange sacrifice. Trading a rook for a minor piece and a pawn. This is devastating at the 1000 level because these players typically follow material values too rigidly. The key pattern to look for: your opponent's knight or bishop is actively placed, often near their king. By sacrificing your rook for their minor piece and a pawn, you gain two critical advantages. You activate your remaining pieces instantly, and you create lasting structural weaknesses. 1000 ELO players almost always panic when facing an exchange sacrifice. They either overcompensate by becoming too defensive, or they fail to recognize the long-term positional pressure you've created. Either way, you gain a psychological edge that transcends the material count. The most beautiful part? Even if they defend perfectly, the resulting positions tend to be complex and imbalanced. Exactly what you want against a 1000 ELO player who thrives on predictability. Weapon number 3, the prophylactic mindset. Our third weapon isn't a specific move. It's a thinking technique that 1000 ELO players rarely employ: prophylaxis. Before making your move, ask yourself, what is my opponent planning to do next? Then systematically shut down those plans. 1000 ELO players typically play their own game without sufficiently considering your threats. By constantly thwarting their plans before they can execute them, you force them into increasingly passive positions where they have no counterplay. For example, if you see they're preparing to activate their light-squared bishop, preemptively control those diagonals. If they want to push a pawn break, reinforce that area first. These seemingly quiet moves frustrate 1000 ELO players who are looking for obvious attacks and defenses. The prophylactic approach is particularly effective in equal middle game positions where your opponent might feel comfortable. By consistently denying their active plans, you slowly but surely push them into a positional corner. Weapon number 4, the counterintuitive pawn break. Our fourth weapon exploits another fundamental weakness of 1000 ELO players. They often follow opening principles too rigidly without understanding the exceptions. When your opponent creates a symmetrical pawn structure, they typically expect you to play normally. Instead, look for counterintuitive pawn breaks that create immediate asymmetry. For example, in positions where both sides have pawns on d4 and e5, consider playing f4 or c4 to immediately change the structure. The beauty of these breaks is that they often lead to piece activity that 1000 ELO players don't anticipate. When the position suddenly opens in an unexpected direction, they typically struggle to reorient their pieces effectively. Even better, these pawn breaks frequently offer you open lines and outposts that weren't available in the symmetrical structure. By the time your opponent adjusts to the new position, you've already secured a significant positional advantage. Weapon number 5, the endgame acceleration. Our fifth weapon targets perhaps the biggest weakness of 1000 ELO players: endgame technique. Most players at this level are uncomfortable in endgames and will avoid them whenever possible. Use this to your advantage by deliberately steering games towards specific endgames where you have a small but convertible edge. Another reliable way to crush 1000 ELO players is to exploit their time management weaknesses. Players at this level tend to fall into predictable predictable time patterns. They use too much time in familiar openings and then rush critical middle game decisions. Use this tendency against them by playing slightly unusual but sound opening variations. When they inevitably spend extra time navigating unfamiliar territory, maintain your pace with confident moves. By the time you reach move 20 to 25, they're often down to just a few minutes while you have a comfortable time advantage. If you found this breakdown valuable, hit that like button and subscribe for more strategic insights.